We are throwing Danny on the hot seat in today's video, breaking down his favorite picks in the first 10 rounds of ADP. I'll be doing this tomorrow, but Danny, it is your time to shine. Who is the first player in round one that you cannot stop drafting? And spoiler alert, it is not the guy on the thumbnail. We baited you guys into thinking that's who it would be.
Yeah, so the way I determined this is I looked at my own rankings in relation, like you said, to the home league ADP, and I just picked the guy that I had highest in comparison. So there will be some guys that are left off of this list that I wanted oh so dearly to talk about. And like you said, the first guy was CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb and Jahmyr Gibbs were the close contenders in my top 6 picks. If you are picking in the top 6, they tend to be the best values. But for the entirety of the first round, I do not understand Nico Collins' cost. His current ADP, 11th overall in home league ADP. He is my 7th overall player this year. Once those top 6 players are off the board, Nico Collins is the shot I am calling to take at that 7th overall pick. And he showed last year that he is simply a superstar level talent. He was the only wide receiver pacing what Jamar Chase was doing prior to his week 5 hamstring strain against the Buffalo Bills. And he started the first month of the year, Corey, nearly 23 PPR points per game at 22.75. And even when you solely look at the games he was healthy last year, 19 points per game, 9.44 targets per game. And Nico Collins, from a pure talent perspective, 6'4", 220 pounds, 4'4" wide receiver. He's been top 10 in the NFL in yards per route run against both man and zone coverage in each of the last 2 years. And if CJ Stroud simply bounces back to what we saw as a rookie, or potentially even further heights, given the talent level we saw and the projections we had for him after his rookie year, I think there is meat left on the bone for Nico Collins to be the wide receiver 1 overall this year. And you can get that at the 11th overall pick in your home leagues.
Yeah, I've been a little skeptical of Nico throughout the offseason because I don't think his overall style fits what I think the Texans are going to be able to be capable of doing this year. And I'm just a little bit worried about the offense in general because we don't know who's starting at running back. The offensive line is poor, but if they move Nico around the formation, why can't this be, a guy that just gets peppered 170 plus targets from a very accurate quarterback who's going to be looking his way? And it's not like Jaden Higgins or Christian Kirk or Jalen Noor lighting up training camp right now when we have significant target competition issues.
I don't mean this lightly. I think when it's all said and done after this year, we could be talking about Nico Collins as this generation's Julio Jones.
Yeah, no, he absolutely has that potential. I started out the offseason about an early second round kind of ranking of him, but I'm not quite where you are at 7th overall, but I do have him at 9th overall, and he's going to firmly be in the discussion for me in my own personal home league where I pick at 9.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of my own personal home league, this is the guy that I want in round 2. I have the 5th overall pick. You guys can pretty much put 2 and 2 together that I want CeeDee Lamb at 5. If this guy makes it to me in the second round, the smile on my face will be tremendous, and that is Chase Brown, running back of the Cincinnati Bengals. He goes off the board, home league ADP, 24th overall. He is my 18th overall player, and he is the guy I want to be pairing in the second round with hopefully a CeeDee Lamb at the 105 in my home league. It's pretty simple, man. Chase Brown took his game to an entirely new level down the stretch last year. One of the biggest workhorses in the NFL, over 20 PPR points per game. And all of the buzz that we've heard this offseason has pointed to the fact that the Bengals want him as a feature running back, a focal point of this offense. And that's been backed by minimal investment at the running back position. Like I said, over 20 points per game, untouchable workload down the stretch. And he's attached to an offense that we project to be a top 5 unit yet again. Not often, Corey, can you get a running back that's talented and checks every box you'd want from both a volume and a situational standpoint. But when we do, people are allowing him to fall to the Jamar Chase team at 24 overall. That makes no sense to me. Mid-second round value. And like I said, if I compare CeeDee Lamb with Chase Brown in my home league, I'm doing a happy dance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, sometimes you can get him in the 3rd round, but for the most part, you would absolutely have to take him in the 2nd round. This is the, gas up our guys video. Like for you, you're gassing up all your guys, and I'm going to be doing it in tomorrow's video. And Chase Brown's a guy that we've been talking about collectively as, just one of the best picks on the board and somebody that we want to make sure we get on our teams, because ultimately you get a guy in a top 10 offense who has produced at a super high level, who's an exceptional athlete and average 4+ targets per game when he was the starter. It's pretty hard to see him not pay off at his ADP. And I think the key thing that you talked about there is minimal investment in the position. Because if Chase Brown had a 3rd round Damian Martinez or something added to his backfield, that'd be a pretty significant difference from a 6th round Taj Brooks and Zach Moss being cut from the team.
Exactly. All wheels up. Chase Brown, if he can get 300+ touches this year in this offense, we're talking about top 3 to 5 running back upside, just like he was at the end of last season. But round 3, we move on. We're going to a onesie. And I will say for the most part, round 3 was pretty priced appropriately because some of the guys that I have ranked in this range, as you guys will see later in this video, round 4, round 5, round 6 is kind of where they make up. But the guy that I like the most in round 3 in relation to home league ADP is George Kittle, tight end of the San Francisco 49ers. He goes off the board about 34th overall on average. He is the 31st overall player in my rankings. He was the tight end 1 overall in 2024, and he has been a top 3 tight end in PPR points per game in 6 of his 8 years in the NFL. He's the model of consistency at tight end. You're banking on arguably the best overall talent at the position attached to a high-end offensive environment. And he's won on elite efficiency, man. He outscored point per game wise Brock Bowers last year on 59 less targets. Now we look at the 2025 San Francisco 49ers. Deebo Samuel off the team. Brandon Ayuk going to be out for a while. Juwan Jennings, whether it was, a contract thing or a calf strain, whatever they want to report it to be, he has not been with the team through training camp. Their main wide receiver 1 has been Ricky Pearsall. To me, what that screams is George Kittle is going to get a ton of looks. And if we have potential 140 plus target upside for Kittle, he has the upside to break fantasy football. We just haven't been able to see it because he's been playing with all pro wide receivers for the last 5 years.
Yeah, George Kittle, 1 season of 110 plus targets, and he was a tight end 1 overall in 2018, and he was by far the tight end 1 overall that season. So yeah, it's pretty easy math to deduce here that because like Christian McCaffrey too is like he could go down at any point. We know that about Christian McCaffrey. Like this offense should run through George Kittle in the volume regard, and Brock Purdy is obviously a very good quarterback who can get him the football consistently. So yeah, in the 3rd round, it's pretty priced appropriately. Do you want to take a wide receiver? There's some guys there that are okay, but we don't really love them. The running backs, again, they're probably priced appropriately there. Quarterbacks are pushed up the board because they're very valuable, but George Kittle is the one guy that, especially in some casual formats, you might get in the 4th round because, he's been boomer bust or whatever on a week in, week out basis. But you know what? Every season he's a top 5 tight end, and he's been doing that with all pro receivers, like you said.
Yeah, that's why there's a big 3 at tight end this year, and I'm going to like the guy that is in that big 3 that's the cheapest at cost with George Kittle. But going on to round 4, like I said, there are some egregious values this range on. Rounds 4 to 8, you'll see the biggest discrepancies for me based on where the consensus is at. My guy in round 4 is Kenneth Walker. I have him ranked as my 29th overall player. He goes off the board 42nd overall in home league ADP, and we can back this. I literally made a trade with you in the Flock League to attain Kenneth Walker. Spoiler alert, not the only player on this video that has actually been dealt in that league. He's been a guy I've done a complete 180 on. I mean, you remember where we were at earlier in the offseason. We're like, okay, Zach Charbonnet's a factor, this and that. We said everything we could to put Kenneth Walker down. But then when I really examined the situation, I looked at the nuts and bolts. When he is healthy, it's not a competition. It's not a debate. He is the team's running back 1. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Zach Charbonnet, in the games that Kenneth Walker has played, 25 games out of the 33 in his career, only 6.04 PPR points per game, only about 32 yards from scrimmage per game when Kenneth Walker is active. When Kenneth Walker is healthy, this is the team's running back 1. And now you get an extremely elusive wide zone runner, which is a match made in heaven for the new offense coordinator that is Clint Kubiak. Alvin Kamara in 2024 just handled 317 opportunities and 14 games played, and he just had his most efficient season on the ground since 2020. His most efficient season on the ground in 4 years because Clint Kubiak was his offense coordinator. Now you enter Kenneth Walker, coming off a career high last year, 4.82 targets per game, 16.5 PPR points per game. And he was averaging 19.1 PPR points per game prior to the team's bye week, when injuries started to pile up. And that was with Ryan Grubb as his offensive coordinator. The team goes out this offseason, obviously hires Clint Kubiak, big time upgrade in terms of the scheme. They go out this offseason in the 1st round of the NFL draft a versatile zone blocking center with Gray Zabel. And now their run scheme has been a huge storyline through 2025 preseason. If you've watched the Seahawks in the 2025 preseason, George Holani, Zach Charbonnet, Damian Martinez, whoever has been running behind this scheme has looked awesome. And that just makes me salivate to think when the true running back 1 on this team, Kenneth Walker, is ready to play in week 1, we could be in store for a monster year. And not only his best season yet as a pro, he was already at 19.1 points per game last year before the bye. I wouldn't be shocked if he was a 20-plus point per game running back this year.
Yeah, it scares the crap out of me knowing that I traded him to you in the flock league. But yeah, the crucial thing about this like McShanahan tree, and I know Ryan Heath has done like extensive work on this, is that they produce league winners. And it's not just at wide receiver, it's not just at tight end, it's not just at quarterback, even though quarterback I think is the one that is the most common from this tree. But this run scheme is just so friendly for running backs. And Alvin Kamara, 29 years old, had like his most opportunities in his most efficient season in 4 years, like you said. So what is a guy who's hunting a contract extension this year going to look like when anytime he's been healthy, he's been excellent? The only concern you could possibly have for Kenneth Walker is health.
Yeah, and the foot injury, by the way, if you guys were concerned, because obviously he's been dealing with that this offseason. He practiced in full on Thursday. This is the most recent report from 3 days ago. Sounds like it's not gonna be an issue. It sounds like he's just been resting it throughout the preseason. Come week one against the San Francisco 49ers, I would not be shocked if Kenneth Walker had a 150 yards from scrimmage, 2-touchdown outing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's get into round 5, Danny. And not a single person on earth is shocked by this one. But this is what this video concept is. Your favorite picks by round. We're not discriminating for guys that we talk about all the time. Your favorite pick in round 5 is who?
Let me appease to you guys from an emotional perspective, because Travis Hunter is going off the board 60th overall in home league ADP. He is my 39th overall player. Again, did you guys really expect anyone else to be my favorite pick in round 5? And I put money where my mouth is. I took him at the 411 of the flock league. You guys know that I am all in on Travis Hunter. Sympathize with me here. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get a once-in-a-lifetime talent on your fantasy football team. Don't let concerns about snap share affect your opinion on Travis Hunter. Liam Cohn has already gone out and said he wants Travis Hunter to play 80+% of the offensive snaps. We have Cameron Wolfe, reporter for the Jacksonville Jaguars, reporting that they intend to play him full-time on offense and ease him on defense, is what the exact report was from Cameron Wolfe, again, Jacksonville Jaguars reporter. This doesn't sound like a player that, he'll play 40% of your snaps. Your home league buddy Steve, after a few cold ones, is trying to tell you how he's going to play main cornerback. Don't listen to Steve. Listen to Liam Cohn. Listen to the Jacksonville reporters. Imagine fading rookie year Odell Beckham Jr. because he had a wide receiver / cornerback tag attached to his name. Elite talent, elite offensive schemer, and an offense plus quarterback I believe in. I'm putting my whole season on Travis Hunter. There's a reason why I have almost 40% of him over on Underdog.
Yeah, and I got upwards of 20% myself. I'll give you a quick timeline because this is something that we have in our draft guide. We actually track fantasy news. And this is what the timeline has looked like since the Jacksonville Jaguars, first of all, traded up another first-round pick to go up to number 2 overall to take this guy. I think they're going to use him quite a bit on offense. After that happened, Jaguars released Gabe Davis. That was the first domino that falls. That's an indication he's probably going to play receiver. Then there are multiple people in the league that basically view him as a wide receiver primarily shortly after they select him. Then you talked about the Cameron Wolfe report. He's going to primarily practice with the ones on offense. That was May 8th. May 10th, start his role on defense after OTAs, basically, is what Liam Cohn said. I think that the priority is offense at that point in time. And then I could go through like 3 or 4 more of him basically being used primarily on offense and being listed on offense and all this kind of stuff. And yet, like you said, your home league buddy, Steve, is still going to go, well, he's going to play corner. It's like, well, follow the tea leaves here. He is going to play wide receiver. It's so blatantly obvious when you look at it.
This is why you guys follow FSE and why Steve is currently at the LCBO picking up another 12-pack.
Yeah, and LCBO is uniquely a Canadian thing, so no American is going to understand that reference.
Gas station.
There you go. Yeah, gas station getting your local brews there. So round number 6, because we all knew Travis Hunter was coming at some point. Round number 6 is who?
Yeah, round number 6, Rome Odunze, wide receiver of the Chicago Bears, 69th overall in home league ADP, 49th overall in my rankings. And spoiler alert, this is far from the last Bear you'll see on this video, but reading the tea leaves of the offseason, Odunze is in store for a massive breakout year 2. I mean, Ben Johnson has already gone on and praised his ability as a prototype X wide receiver, and Bears Beat expects him to be the clear wide receiver 1 on the team. Sure, people might be reading that. Well, that's just coach speak. That's just reporter speak. What's happened in the preseason? In the preseason, on the plays that Caleb Williams was in the game, he's played 100% of the team routes and has a 27% target share from Caleb Williams. You draft Rome Odunze, but just beware. Stay tuned if you're a Bears fan because we got some more love coming your way.
Yeah, Rome Odunze, good breakout receiver, top 10 pick. There's not much you can say about Odunze negatively outside of, okay, well, he didn't look like the guy in his rookie season. DJ Moore still presumably I would imagine would, if you had Vegas odds on it, would be the betting favorite to be the leading receiver on this team. But when you're a 10th overall pick, you have a lot of team investment in the coach speak and everything that's followed around DJ Moore versus Odunze. It kind of points to Odunze being the number one receiver. That's when you can get a value, because DJ Moore goes a solid 2 rounds earlier in drafts right now.
Yeah, which if you take anything away from this video, by the way, don't draft DJ Moore. Draft all the other Bears weapons, because like I said, Rome Odunze, you'll see what I mentioned later on, but we love the Chicago Bears outside of the current DJ Moore cost.
Hey, this is your video here. You love the Chicago Bears.
I love the Chicago Bears. Let me own up to it. Chest out.
Yeah, round 7. You have Stephon Diggs, which is the oldest guy probably in this video for sure. But yeah, like you mentioned here, round 7, pretty well priced overall.
Yeah, again, pretty well priced round, but I do like the value you can currently get on Stephon Diggs. My 64th ranked player goes off the board 78th overall in home league ADP. By all accounts, it sounds like he's fully healthy off of last season's, early ACL tear he suffered with the Houston Texans. And if you guys are new to the channel, I'm all in on Drake May. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Diggs is the clear number 1 wide receiver in New England for a quarterback that I believe in. And to be able to get that as my 7th player added to my team is very intriguing. If May does take the step that I do anticipate, I mean, this is a guy that I think when it's all said and done, we could be talking about as a top 3 to 5 level quarterback, Josh Allen-esque type of quarterback in this league. There's a legitimate ceiling for Diggs to get back to his 2023 level.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a lot of your takes prior to this were just like ball knower takes. It's like, hey, Travis Hunter's just too good to be going this low. Yeah. This one's more just like a projection take, I would say. This is one of the few projection takes that you're going to make here, which is like, hey, Diggs has got no receiving competition. And Drake May probably projects for a 4,000-yard passer this year. So if you just do the math there, you're like, hey, this guy's probably going to have 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, and I mean, we may as well go right back to the ball knower takes in round 8, because all the ball knowers know where Emeka Egbuka should be going in drafts. 89th overall in home league.
I'm pissed about this one, by the way. Before you did this, you're like, hey, should I leave you some guys?
I asked you. I gave you the way.
Just pick the guy that you have ranked the highest, and I will go with what's left over. This is the one guy that I'm annoyed that you took.
Yeah, well, I asked you. I had to make sure, because obviously I'll glaze your boy, but I'm sure you wanted to glaze your boy even more. But I mean, we could both agree that how many more Emeka Egbuka is like Chris Godwin reports do we need to hear from the Bucs? Not just reporters, players, Baker Mayfield, Chris Godwin himself, Mike Evans, coaches. You got Todd Bowles, defensive old school head coach, talking about how impressive Emeka Egbuka has been. And his home league ADP hasn't risen. Like, his ADP has already risen on Underdog. He's going in round 5. How is he still a round 8 pick in home leagues? Let's keep it simple. Mike Evans has a history of hamstring issues. Chris Godwin is already out for at least the first month of the year, and Jalen McMillan was just placed on IR with a neck injury for a pass-happy Bucs offense and a top 20 selected NFL draft pick. The upside is quite literally round 8 Amon-Ra St. Brown. Steal him higher than this if you need to. I have him 39 spots ahead of this consensus. If you have to take him in round 6 or round 7, fucking do it.
Yeah, he's almost exactly. It's funny because this was his comp coming out of school, and he also played the same role as this player for the same school. He's almost exactly JSN from last year. His exact projection is almost exact, because you think about it, you got a big downfield established receiver on the outside, taking away number 1 corners. And what happened? JSN led the team in targets. He led the team in fantasy points, because in PPR leagues, he gets the most volume there. And like you said, there's 26 reports in our draft guide from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do you know how many of them are either pro Emeka Egbuka or anti Chris Godwin or Jalen McMillan's health?
18.
Yes, 18, exactly on the dot. All of the reports coming out of Tampa Bay Buccaneers training camp are either Emeka Egbuka hype or basically pessimism on the other receivers.
Yeah, which just goes to show you, man, maybe you just do have Amon-Ra St. Brown 2.0 on your hands, and I know that makes you pretty happy.
I do, man. That was my comp for him coming out of school. I was like, he's either Chris Godwin or Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's like he's literally going to replace Chris Godwin at this point in time. And even when Godwin comes back, let's say, okay, people are worried, okay, Egbuka, when Godwin comes back, is going to be less valuable or whatever. It's like, well, Godwin, let's say he's back week 5 at the earliest or something like that. He's still going to be heavily, heavily involved. And at the very least in redraft, you're going to have a guy who's probably a top 20 receiver rookie in fantasy that you could sell high on.
Yeah, absolutely. Emeka Egbuka, if you can get him right away, especially knowing that he's going to start hot, he might, like, Corey, how shocked would you be if he was like the wide receiver 7 in the first month of the year?
It wouldn't shock me at all, because like I've brought up before, the first 3 games that we have are the Falcons, Texans, and Jets. Well, that's all of which have shadow coverage corners that will be glued to Mike Evans.
Yeah. So if you're watching this and you can still get Emeka Egbuka anywhere around round 8, Go and do it. You will not regret this pick. I will confirm it right now. I'll put my nuts on the table. If you can get a Emeka Egbuka at this cost or even 24 picks above this cost, you will not miss on this pick.
Yeah, I would take him at the 604 or something like that. And if he's available in round 8, it's just absolutely stealing. Another guy that I kind of wish you had saved for me, but it's fine because, we both love this player as well as Josh Downs, who is your round 9 value.
Yeah, and spoiler, again, he is currently dealing with a hamstring strain. But in my opinion, he's the clear biggest winner of Daniel Jones winning out that Colts starting quarterback job. Again, Josh Downs, 105th overall in home league ADP, 71st overall in my own rankings. And you just read the entire situation for Josh Downs again, assuming he's healthy, assuming he's ready to go, even if it's not week 1, maybe week 2, week 3. Let's look at it like this. He's an elite separator according to reception perception. Daniel Jones just peppered Wan'Dale freaking Robinson, a guy who had 93 receptions and 699 receiving yards across the year. He peppered him to 8.4 targets per game on an offense that had freaking Malik Neighbors on it. Even if you stash him initially with the hamstring injury, like I said, the upside is too big to let him fall to round 9, 90th percentile against man, 92nd percentile against zone, 82nd percentile against press. You plug that caliber of player in the Wan'Dale Robinson role, we're talking about a top 24 wide receiver.
Yeah, and he was literally producing like a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 last year while missing the entire offseason with a high ankle sprain at 22 years old and having Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco throw him the football.
Yeah, and I spoiled this. Round 10. I said earlier on when I talked about Roma Dunze, he would not be the only Bears player on this video. If you can get Caleb Williams in round 10, he's your upside shot at quarterback. Again, one quarterback league, maybe you draft, a safer Dak Prescott next to him earlier in the season. The upside is tremendous because we have seen Jared Goff be a quarterback 1 in fantasy with negative rushing upside. Yes, yeah, obviously that's exaggerated. I don't want people in the comments, well, technically he had this amount of rushing yards. Jared Goff is not a mobile quarterback. Caleb Williams last year was one of the more mobile quarterbacks in the league and averaged about 30 rushing yards per game. If you're increasing the overall offensive viability, the efficiency as a passer, and now a completely revamped weapons corps, Roma Dunze taking that next step as a player, DJ Moore still being a solid wide receiver in this core, you add Loveland, you add DJ Moore, you beef up the offensive line. The only way that Caleb Williams fails this year is if Caleb Williams himself is not up to the caliber that we saw him as a prospect. Because everything that he has, coach, offensive line, weapons core, points to this guy being a top 5 to 8 quarterback in fantasy if he can put it all together.
Yeah, I actually think the best comparison for what Caleb Williams could look like this year is that second season of Kyler Murray, where we saw that 22 plus point per game jump. And you guys might be like, well, Kyler Murray's more mobile than Caleb Williams. Well, Caleb Williams ran 500 yards last year, like legitimately. And he had 0 rushing touchdowns, which is probably going to regress positively if he rushes for 500 yards again. So you're looking at a dude that, think about in the red zone as well. Like, do we trust DeAndre Swift in the red zone? Like he could run in 5+ touchdowns this year on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we saw the mobility last year. If he can just stop eating sacks, which again is a problem, he's a young quarterback. It's going to happen.
Dude, Caleb Williams eating sacks is one of the craziest quotes I've ever heard.
Yeah, that is one of the quotes of the year, and I'm sure just like the whip it out quote, we'll probably get some comments on it.
No, for sure. Dude, Caleb Williams has looked great in the preseason. He has Ben Johnson calling the offense. He has the offensive line. He has so many weapons that we can't decide who to take. And he rushes the football at a probable top 6 to 7 level at the position.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you're getting a little bit of a Konami factor on top of a quarterback that could quite literally throw for 30 touchdowns and 4,000 plus passing yards, to me, I mean, I don't want to say Patrick Mahomes, but I mean, Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes were literally our comp for him when you drafted first overall.
Yeah, when you're in a 1 quarterback league and you're looking for an upside swing because you can take Trevor Lawrence in the 13th round or you can take Matthew Stafford in the 14th round or whatever, why not put Caleb Williams above the Dak Prescotts and the Brock Purdy's of the world? Because as much as I think those guys project better on a median range of outcomes, Caleb Williams' ceiling is just so much higher. And in a 1 quarterback league, especially like, for example, you know how many quarterbacks were drafted in the 14-round draft of my home league last year? 14. So if I draft Caleb Williams, my streaming options on the waiver wire are going to be like
a Brock Purdy at that point.
Jared Goff, Justin Herbert are going to be on the waiver wire in my league.
Jared Goff, JJ McCarthy, Justin Herbert. I mean, even if you want to get grosser, I'm sure Tua Tagovailoa is going to have usable weeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, Caleb Williams to me just makes so much sense as a late round quarterback. We've talked about it all offseason. Hey, I'm hammering out running backs, wide receivers, maybe deviating for one elite onesie. If that one elite onesie you deviate for is a tight end and not a quarterback, Caleb Williams makes so much sense for you, especially knowing that in your case, you'll probably end up taking one of his teammates at some point during the draft as well.
I might take all of his teammates outside of DJ Moore at this point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that was Danny's top 10 round picks that you absolutely cannot stop drafting, guys that you're throwing your nuts on the chopping block for, your favorite pick in every single round. We will, if you guys are wondering, oh, who are your favorite picks in rounds 11 through 15? Well, both of us are going to have our own top 5 sleeper video, which precisely will cover players in rounds 11 through 15. So stay tuned later in the week for those. I'll be having you guys covered with my top 10 picks basically in every single round. Of course, I would have loved to have Josh Downs and Emeka Egbuka on that list, but Danny got to this a little bit earlier than I did. So he takes those guys off the board and I'll have to pivot. But regardless, if you guys want all of this data, the FSC rankings versus home leagues, because that's essentially exactly what we're doing here, is just talking about our rankings versus home league ADP. It's a combination of ESPN, Sleeper, NFL, Yahoo, everything. And it's the exact mock draft ADP. So Yahoo's X ranks is what you draft on in a mock draft in your real draft for fantasy. That is what's in the manifesto. ESPN uses Mike Clay's rankings. That is what you are drafting off of and looking off of in the manifesto. That is all available. If you get the season pass, head on down to the link in the pinned comment down below to check that out. $34, August through January. You're covered on the site. 4 draft guides plus in-season content. And of course, we do have a new listener league going live right now. And if you're a season pass holder, you get 3 ballots to enter that. That will be drafting on Sunday, August 31st at 7 p.m. Eastern. And of course, check out the link in the pinned comment and in the description to check out all of the ways you can get into that listener league. You also get ballots if you're an Underdog code user, if you're an annual mother flocker, and all that good stuff. So check that out if you guys are interested. But with that being said, peace out, and we'll talk to you soon.